Hey, it's Nonye, and this is Book Bites, where we devour good reads. On Book Bites, we will be recommending amazing books and delicious foods to go along with them. In this episode, I'm with Caitlyn, talking all about the top 3 childhood series while enjoying a little snack. Many of my best memories were in the libraries. As a kid, my mom would take me and my sister to the playroom. We used to play store and tea parties with the plastic food they had. I remember playing CDs with the old radio too. Some of the first book series I read were Elephant and Piggy and Nate the Great Detective. They filled my life with humor and suspense. If y'all don't know Elephant and Piggy, it's basically a big elephant and a little piggy who are best friends, and they're very comedic, and it's a lot of fun. Nate, the Great Detective, he solves mysteries for his friends they all lose things. And yeah, he eats his pancakes and writes notes to his mom. It was good times. In first grade, I started my obsession with the Stilton. It's basically like all I read throughout my younger elementary years. It's basically the better version of Geronimo Stilton. It is a group of girl mice who travel around the world that face a lot of drama and problems along the way. There's sometimes they solve mysteries, sometimes they're part of big dances. It's so much fun. And then in third grade it was Warriors, and one of my friends was reading it, and I'm like, oh, I want to read it too. And I got absolutely obsessed. It's basically about, the first book is basically about a runaway house cat that finds himself on the losing side of clan war. And it's basically how he's going through all of this, trying to be accepted, as he's used to be a house cat, and the tomcats kind of hate him for it. But yeah, there's so many books in that entire series. The author, Erin Hunter, she kept writing. I don't know, there must be over 8 different series in that. It should be a franchise by now. It's insane. But yeah, during boring car rides, I would look into the sides of the highway, and I would point out spots that would house the clans. And I'm like, oh yeah, this river would be good for the river clan. It was a big obsession then. And then I went into Percy Jackson from 7th to 8th grade. I did this kind of challenge that my friend brought up to me about reading the entire Riordan verse, all of his series, and everything. She had most of them too. So I remember scrambling for the books my friend would give me and be like, yo, do you have the next book on you? And yeah, that was a lot of fun. I remember finishing the very last book, and I'm like, what am I gonna read now? I'm gonna miss this. I'm gonna miss the Riordan, his books. But the first series, Percy Jackson, the original of the originals, is basically about a young demigod that embarks on a dangerous quest to find a thief that has stolen one of the most powerful weapons, Zeus's lightning bolt. Yeah, it was full of suspense. It was so much fun. He's a snarky character, and yeah, I love him to bits. And right now, I am currently reading Foul Lady Fortune by Chloe Gong. This is basically a spin-off book to These Violent Delights duology that I recommended in the last episode, so you guys should check that out. But it basically follows Juliet's cousin, Rosalind, as she investigates mysterious murders across Shanghai. It's super good. I really love the dynamics with Rosalind and Orion. They're so cute. I was squealing at some points. I'm like, yes. And yeah, they're absolute couple goals. And the amount of suspense, I'm towards like the end of the book now, but like the suspense is building, and I'm like, hold on, what? Like, I need some more explanation on that. So hopefully the resolution, I get a little more knowledge, because right now I'm a little confused. But that's all I'm gonna tell y'all. But yeah, enough about me. I have a book fanatic here with me. She is a freshman at our CBP high school and my go-to person for fantasy recommendations. Thank you, Caitlyn Kester, for coming on the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good.
Tired. Good.
So real. Well, let's just jump right into it. Tell me a little bit about yourself as a reader. About like how many books have you read this year?
This year, probably about 30 to 40. I devour books. I read them really fast without being, I can't like control. I just read it really fast on accident.
No, I'm almost the same way too. Like once I get into a book, I'm like reading it.
Yeah.
My friend, she gave me these two this like short series, and I read them both in a day, and she's like, how did you do that? And I'm like, it was interesting. But yeah, I'm also the same way. Another question, what genres do you normally read?
Young adult fantasy, dystopian, science fiction sometimes. That's about it. I stayed in a few genres. I don't go exploring very much.
What's your favorite genre out of all those?
Young adult fantasy. I love fantasy.
Same. And what has been like your latest favorite read?
My latest favorite would have to be Sky Hunter by Mary Lou. It is a duology, and it was really good. It was like captivating.
Can you give us a quick summary?
So basically, there's a few countries, and this main country called the Federation has been like dominating other countries and taking them over. And the last independent country, I forgot its name, is like it's losing a war to the Federation, and so they only have like this small team of like fighters that tries to like defend it as much as possible, and then they find this spy on their territory, and the spy is actually an experiment of the Federation that went rogue, and there's this love story with them and the main character.
Dang, okay.
But it's really good.
All right, I'm going to need you to write down that book, because that might be my next read. Goodness,
Okay.
that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it was really good.
And on the flip side, like, what are some icks that you have when you're reading books?
I'm not very picky for a reader. I don't really have a whole lot of icks. But like some scenes can get just like uncomfortable. For example, you can just kind of skip over.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But
Or like when it's like this uncomfortable conversation between two characters, you just kind of look to see how close the next chapter is, see how much you'll miss to skip over. But not that many icks, really.
Okay, so you're not that picky. I know. Okay, all right. And what has been like your favorite childhood book?
My favorite childhood book was Mysterious Magic Society. It was. If you see the TV series, it's not anywhere near. It was not. No. It was not accurate whatsoever. Don't look at that. Read the books first.
Got it.
But my favorite memory reading it was I remember I would stay up late a lot of nights reading it when people thought I was sleeping, and I remember
Sneaky.
those good books, you just know they're good when you can't help but like squeal at some parts or just like laugh aloud when like try to not wake up people. So it was like yeah.
I've done that. Like sometimes I'll just like silently just get like.
Yeah, and also you've read a good book after you start like narrating yourself in your head after reading a book. I do that a lot.
Oh my god.
But, yeah, staying up late reading them is, I don't know.
No, yeah.
Great memory.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna ask you a quick thing. Like, so after you finish a book, like, what's your first feeling that comes?
If it's like a long series, or even just like one book, if it was really good and it really like grabbed my attention, I will always feel as if I lost a friend a little bit. Like, because it feels like that those characters that you just, like, were on that journey with just, like, are gone now. So, I will continue thinking about that one book, for a long time afterwards. And it'll, like, just pop into my head every now and then. But, yeah. It's kind of like seldom like that. Like, not seldom, solemn, kind of. Because, like, it's over. What are you going to do now? And I get into such book hangovers where I will not be able to read any other series. Because that one series was so good and I can't stop obsessing over it, but you don't have nothing else to read.
No, I did that with The Wicked King. I had a really bad hangover.
Oh,
I
yeah,
was like searching,
I've read
like all times memes. I went down a rabbit hole on that one. No, that will forever have a place in my heart. Yeah. I tried to do the same thing for These Violent Delights.
I haven't heard of
Chloe Gong.
I've heard
it's
of it.
Really good. Yeah, it's like it's a retelling of Romeo and Juliet, but like 10 times better. So, yeah, it's I couldn't find much on the internet though, so it had to kind of die. But they will forever have a place. In my heart.
You know, the best books never like are the popular ones. Like the best books, like no one's ever heard of, and you can't find any fan art or anything online.
Honestly,
so you just like feel like making your own, but then it looks terrible, so you don't show it anyone.
So no, I cannot
That's
draw
kind
to
of
save my
specific,
life. But yeah, so before we go on to the top 3, it's time for the recipe of the day. This recipe is directly tied to our top book rec, so try to guess the book as we move along. The recipe of the day is baked apples. Boy, this was so simple and super fun to make. Little background history here. The first baked apples were served to the first-class passengers on the Titanic. The original recipe is super simple. It's basically each apple's cored, and then it's filled with a mixture of butter and castor sugar, almost kind of like caramel. In the book, the main character is given the choice for what she wants for dinner, and basically she goes through all of these things. She doesn't take it, but today we are deciding to go ahead and try this. So I chose a recipe with oats just because I wanted some more texture in the filling, add a little more oomph into it. The recipe that I'm putting in the description also recommends walnuts in the filling as well, so if you want to try that out, go ahead. But before you hop to it, I have a couple of tips for you. First off, it is absolutely delicious with ice cream. Like, the warmth and it's kind of like apple pie and ice cream, but better. And also, I added some... Goodness, okay. Also, I brushed some remaining butter onto the apple tops, and, yeah, it kind of... I don't know exactly what it did, but I thought it was a good idea, and it helped with less waste, so that's what I did. Let's see what Caitlyn thinks. So, Caitlyn, this here is baked apples. It's got some oatmeal and lots of sugar in it.
It's really good.
You want to go ahead and try it?
Sure. This is really good. Really good.
I'm glad y'all enjoyed it. So, first off, what is your own favorite childhood book?
My favorite childhood book was probably Mysteries of Benedict Society because it was really good and it captivated me entirely, and I was obsessed with it for a few months.
Okay. Now let's get into our top 3. Well, for number 3, we've got Percy Jackson. Now, my own experience with Percy Jackson, absolutely loved that series. Like I said before, I went through the entire Riden verse, and Percy Jackson is the original of the original. He's super funny, he's got all this stuff, and we love him, basically, like, the first Percy Jackson is him, like, discovering that he's a demigod, and he, like, embarks on this quest to find the thief of the most dangerous weapon, Zeus's lightning bolt. It's so fun to see the group's, like, dynamics and all that stuff, and yeah. What has been your own, whatchamacallit? Sorry, hold on. What has been your own experiences with Percy Jackson?
I grew very obsessed with the characters first. So at first I didn't really care for it, but then I started like reading it by myself and I loved it. And I actually read them all in the wrong order.
Oh.
I read the first book, and again I didn't feel it, so I just like stopped reading them. And then I didn't know that there was like an order to them, so I jumped to Trust of Apollo.
Oh.
And then I went back down to Tears of Olympus. And then I went down and finished Percy Jackson, so my sense of timeline in that series is bonkers, so I can't tell you when something happened. I was like, I know that happened.
Oh my god, yeah, right? No, my friend, she had, like, all of them. She was absolutely obsessed with them, like, to a whole nother level. And so, she told me which one and which, so I didn't get steered, but I'd probably be like you too. I'd be like, oh, yeah, I'll take the Magnus Truth one, please, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so our book recommendation for this is Michael Vey. He's got an attitude that's sort of like Percy Jackson. First page, you kind of read it and it's like, oh, yeah, he's pretty similar to Percy Jackson. And it's more on the science fiction side. So, Caitlyn, would you like to give a quick summary on that?
So, it's kind of like instead of like demigods, it's like these people, so I forget how many, it's like 30-something, and of these newborn babies that were all born at the same time in the same place right when an experiment went off. And so they all got different powers that like connect with lightning, and there's this group that hunts them down and convinces them that to join them, and there's this whole thing of, like, manipulation into it, because, like, they're told, this is great, this is what you're born to do this for us. And then it's not that great what they're doing. And so some of them start to, like, rebel. And then it's this whole war between the ones that are loyal to the civilization and the ones that are not. Well, I shouldn't say civilization. It's more like an organization, but, you know.
Still, dang. That seems so exciting. I definitely need to put that on my list. So for number 2, we've got Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Okay, so honestly, if I'm honest, I never really read it as a kid. Like, I heard people, like, raving on and on about it. I saw them around in the books. I don't even know how the order goes at all because it just seems like a big jumble. But I always did, like, when I kind of, like, decided to go and pick one up and read a bit through, I always loved the little sketches and, you know, the funny little, like, nicknames he did. I just never really got into it as much, but, yeah, I see why people like it. What about you?
So, I used to, like, skim through some of them, but really, the two I only ever read were the main one, the first one, and then one that's kind of, like, winter-themed. I forgot what it's called. It was, like, Diary of a Wimpy Kid Winter or something. But I don't know, it was really fun, and they were hilarious books, and so I enjoyed the ones I read, and they were pretty funny pictures. I liked the little sketchy things.
Right.
Yeah. They have a cool design.
So our own pick for this is Homeroom Diaries. It's got the classic dubbing of Teachers and Cliques. Like, I think one of them's like the zombie, well, not really exactly says zombie teachers, but it's like almost zombitrons, I think. Of different cliques, like the haters, and it goes on and on. But it's basically a story about this girl who's named Margaret Cuckoo. Mind you, she actually nicknamed herself Cuckoo. And she just recently returned from a mental institution and is excited to start fresh. Her and her misfit friends, who call themselves the Freak Show, make a plan to bridge all of the cliques together in their school. But not everyone is willing to join this and just get along with everything. But Cuckoo is very persistent and very joyful about all of this until one of her closest friends, pushed to desperation by a hater prank, decides that enough is enough. So, I mean, I kind of read through, like, the first few, and I'm like, okay, like, it has kind of, like, the same kind of, like, fun stuff with it, but it seemed like on a sort of more mature level, on a way. So, if you like Diary of a Wimpy Kid, this will send you right back into nostalgia. And for number 1, we've got The Magic Tree House. Alright. Okay, this is my unpopular opinion right here. I never liked the Magic Tree House. I always thought it was, like, really boring. I don't know really exactly why. I think it was just because, like, I didn't love, like, the characters or something. But, I mean, it's a classic. You see it in every elementary school classroom. It's, like, everywhere. So, respect. That's my own opinion. I don't love it. What about you?
I am the opposite. I loved it. Like, it was the first series books that I, like, read, and because of that, like, it was, like, what got me into chapter books at first, and so I read every single one.
Really?
And I have no memory of, like, any of them, because I kind of skimmed. That was my era of skimming through most of the books, and so I know there was 2 characters. One of them was Jack, the other was, like, name I forgot, and
Annie?
Annie, yeah, Jack and Annie. And I remember I liked some scenes of it, but I have, like, almost no memory of like, the actual plot lines in any of the books. So, except for one I, like, read over again, because I liked it so much. I forget what it was. Maybe it was, like, Jurassic Park. No, it was, like, a Savannah one, where, like, lions and dingoes dinner time, I think it was. I don't remember.
Oh yeah, I think it's, like, maybe Dingoes in Dinner Time, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't remember very much about it.
And so the book recommendation we've got for this is Luck of the Titanic. It has a really good sibling dynamic. It's got travel because it's on the Titanic. This book does not have time travel, but it does take place in 1912, which is the time period of the... Basically, it's about this girl named Valora Luck, who sneaks on the newest and biggest ship in the world with only 2 things on her mind: her dream of being a circus performer in New York, USA, and finding her twin brother, Jamie. Basically, this is during the Chinese Exclusion Act, so she has a lot of barriers that get in her way, and even though she has the money to get onto the ship, they don't allow her because she is Chinese. So it's kind of like threaded in throughout the entire book. It's really good, right, so far. And so she only has 7 days to find Jamie, audition for the circus owner, and convince him to help them both get to America. And one night, Val's dreams were crushed by the most important thing: survival. So, yeah, that's what we have. Do you have any thoughts?
It sounds interesting. I've never really heard of it, but I would probably look into it at some point in time. I didn't know this.
Yeah, no, it's good so far. Caitlyn Kester, thanks so much for joining me today. This was an absolute blast. For our top 3, we recommended Michael Vey for Percy Jackson,